Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome back to another high-level match of StarCraft 2. Now, what I've got for you today is a best-of-3 series of Terran vs ZERG that was recently played during the European regionals of the ESL Masters. Spawning right here in the top left-hand corner in game number 1 on the map Oceanborn. Playing with the blue Terran SCVs, we have the man who recently overtook none other than Maru for the #1 position of Terran players in the world. We're looking at Clem's main command center. His opponent, a man of many nicknames, somebody I haven't featured on the channel in quite a while. Once upon a time he used to go under the nickname of Vanya, then he changed his username to Ratata, and then, I guess more recently, he's been playing under the ID of Wayne. Why does he change his nickname about once a year? I don't know. I have absolutely no reason as to why you would ever want to do that. But I guess if you get sick and tired of your own username, maybe the best thing you can do is change it. Now, don't get me wrong. This is a game that's been recommended to me by many of you, so I'm excited to find out exactly what ended up going down here. But Clem's Terran vs ZERG is absolutely phenomenal, and if I were to be a betting man, I would certainly be putting my money on Clem. And that's exactly the reason why I do want to keep the camera a little bit more on Wayne, just because there's a very good chance he's going to be bringing at least a little bit of cheekiness into this particular series. Now, he's opening up with the 15 hatch. Interestingly enough, this is that style that for a little bit all the pro gamers were playing. Then they slowly but surely started shifting back to just the good old 16 hatch. Cero, however, the highest ranked StarCraft 2 player in the world, was still playing 50 hatch for a couple months longer, and now he also has transitioned back towards the good old 13 Overlord into 16 hatchery build order instead. Apparently Wayne, though, sticking around with it for a little bit longer. You know what? I don't mind it whatsoever. I think it's a strong build, especially, like, it's one of those builds that gets better the less players play against it, right? So maybe this is not the optimal way to open up with ZERG units, but if nobody else really does it, there's a very good chance your opponent also doesn't have as much practice against it. And what's nice about this style is that, yeah, you don't get your third base as quickly, so you don't really get as big an economy early on, but you have a lot more options at your disposal right from the start. When you think about it, right? When Terrans are going up against 3-base ZERG, as we do have, by the way, a triple Reaper opener, a double Rex start, from Mr. Clem. But when you open up with triple hatch as ZERG, what are the options that you can play against? Really, it's only a couple different flavors of macro, and then maybe a roach all-in. But that's about it, right? Those are like the first, 6, 7, 8 minutes or so of the game covered for Terran. They know obviously the situation that they're in and that they will have to macro really well, but generally speaking, you can't really catch them off guard that easily. With a 2-base opener, though, there's a lot more potential. Now, a lovely control here so far, also by Mr. Wayne. I was gonna compliment Clem, but a lot of ZERG players will be losing at least a drone or two, and maybe that's also the reason why Wayne has decided to open up with this particular start. Clem is very well known for his Reaper control, but so far, yeah, he's not really getting a whole lot done. The main advantage in the earlier stages of the game, if you go for a 15 hatch rather than a 16 hatch, sorry guys, this is the first video I'm actually recording this week, and apparently I'm diving straight into deep analysis. But with the 15 hatch compared to the 16 hatch, since you delay your Overlord, you get the hatchery done a little bit quicker and the spawning pool about 12 seconds quicker too, so your queens also pop out a little earlier, meaning that by the time the Reapers get across the map, you already have a queen out, and it's just a little bit safer overall. Now, would you look at that? I certainly expected a bunch of Hellions to be coming up after all of this, but instead Mr. Clem right now is going into Cyclones. Alright, so here's that lair. Yeah, so double gas in the main base, 2 more gases taken in the natural as well. And this is tricky for Clem, right? So what is this going to be? Well, it could be a Nidus all-in, it could be a Swarm Host, it could be instantly into a Hive, could be Mutas, right? There's so many different options available. Really, like, the majority of the ZERG tech trees, I guess, the different paths they can take. They open up as soon as you get the lair tech, and with this style, you do get there a little bit quicker. And apparently what Wayne has opted for is gonna be the Spire. Alright, so Mutalisks are gonna be on the horizon. Couple Cyclones here, trying to get some work done. This is not that big of a commitment, though, into mechanical units. Lovely control here so far, though, by Wayne, doing an excellent job. Look at him. That was really well handled. Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't sound surprised. I mean, he's one of the highest ranked ZERGs on the European server, but still, we see this go wrong when Clem goes up against the likes of, for example, Dark or Cyril or Raynor. And in my mind, they are a little bit better. Now the first queen finally ends up going down, but it looks like it may come at the cost of a bunch of units over here. Lovely stuff by Wayne. Okay. Oh, beautiful surround. That was great. Spire is going to finish here in just a moment. Clem has absolutely no clue what he's playing against. Stimpak is going to finish up for him, so that's nice and all, but notice the, distinct lack of any missile turret or anything along those lines. He is going to be able to get Marines out, so that's good at all, but he really needs to know what he's playing against. Alright, Mutas are coming. We're going to double down as well, it looks like, on that Muta play by going... Oh, I got distracted by the shadow. By going... I thought it was a medevac. It was a very large medevac, apparently. By going into the +1 flyer attacks. That's an indicator that he does not want to stick around on just a bunch of Mutas. We're going to make a lot. Alright, well now Clem sees it. That's nice. Marines, very ambitiously over here. I mean, it can work out. But I was gonna say, I think Clem needs to... If this gets cleaned up, right? So those Mutas make it very difficult for the medevacs to go home. If this gets cleaned up, there's practically nothing available for the Terran player in the meantime at home to defend. Zorkling Muta. Yeah, there's no Banelings or anything along those lines in the mix, but it may just be... He actually managed to get a jump on this army. It may just be that Wayne has got a bit too much stuff. He does overwhelm all of this. Loads of Marines have already gone down. Siege Tank apparently not the main focus as he's hunting down the Marines themselves. Muta's usually used as an harassment tool, but when there's only a handful of, well, Marines available to counter him, it's an excellent option. We're gonna contaminate and snipe down that tech lab. That means that the combat shields upgrade is gonna be denied. Using the bounce there as well to finish it off, just to rub salt in the wound. Zorklings are just killing as many SCVs as they can find over at the third base. And this is a disaster for Clem. Yep, maybe Clem a little over-eager here in the earlier stages of the game, right? He looked at his opponent, he's like, yeah, you're pretty good, but you're not Clem levels of good. Well, Wayne played a fantastic game, and it's GG. Next up, Hecate. Now, I always feel like Clem is at his absolute peak performance when he plays the most standard game possible. Oftentimes, he tries to mix it up, and it doesn't really... I feel like he sometimes maybe gets that criticism too, right? From other players, like, hey, you're very predictable, and you do the same thing almost every game. You go for that triple command center start into a bunch of Hellions, maybe a cloak Banshee or two, right? We see you mixing it up very rarely, but whenever Clem does mix it up, I don't really see it work out all too well for him. Now, he's getting a couple of Zergling kills here, that's nice and all, but... This is a scouting SCV. It pretended like it went back home past his overlord, and then it made a little loop around, back towards the bottom of the map. So Wayne at this point assumes that the SCV has gone back home, whereas in reality, okay, it's proxying a starport at the bottom of the map. I actually fully expected this would be a triple CC style from Clem. And I think it will be. It's just gonna be a delayed third command center compared to what he normally likes to go for. Now, what's the advantage of building the starport over here? You can go for a medevac. I wouldn't mind seeing a liberator or something along those lines. Obviously, the flying units will just simply arrive much quicker here on the Zerg's side of the map. Hellions into Cyclones once again. You know what? Clem is mixing it up. Well, we saw how that went in the previous game. You now will need to win 2 games in a row. Lovely little scout over here. Checks the timing of any gases. Everything looks pretty normal. But at this point, there is... Oh, we got the Reaper. There is no vision of this Liberator that's currently producing here at the bottom of the map. Roachwarren is coming up. That's about a 340 Roachwarren. We'll have to see if this is going to be an aggressive variant. Normally, if you played a more aggressive variant of a Roach all-in, yeah, you'd stop droning at about this point. So he's adding on more drones here, which I think means that he's just going to be playing a couple of Roaches here and then just, well, continue droning up the bases. This is one of those, I don't want to die to anything stupid type of openers for the Zerg. Alright, so Liberator will be available nice and quickly. Can Wayne catch his opponent off guard? Overlord coming back home already. Look at Wayne. Like, this is really solid gameplay. Lovely stuff. He knew what he was going up against. Brings the Overlord back home in time. So that Cyclones in this game cannot get a kill in. Liberator is going straight towards the natural expansion. This is the first time Wayne will figure out that something is a little bit odd in this match. Zerglings here? Okay, that's not good. Sleeping on the job for just a moment. Busy trying to put out multiple fires at once. Flare coming up. Spore Crawler coming up. Queen over here. Microing. Dancing. Trying her very best. Couple drones here. Well, quite a few drones, I guess. On idle. Oh, Brenda's dead. Yeah, sorry about that, Brenda. Your tail was still within that liberation zone. Hope you weren't too attached to that one queen. Alright. So, decently successful early game right here for Clem. But really nothing to write home about either, right? So, yeah, he gets that income advantage there for a little bit. The thing is, he delayed his own third CC for quite a while. So that was pretty much the minimum amount of damage he needed to do. Plus, I am not sold on the Cyclones. The Cyclones are pretty nice, but they're more expensive than Hellions, and they haven't really achieved anything more than Hellions would have achieved, if that makes any sense. If they would have killed an Overlord or two, it would have been really good. But right now, I don't think Clem is going to be all too excited about it. Now, this is Roaches into Quick Mutas. Not a very common transition from ZERG, but definitely something that can work. Maybe also something that Clem doesn't play against all too often. I mean, we saw how those Mutas went in the previous match. Wayne only needed about 30 seconds there to obtain the victory ultimately, so if he can once again catch his opponent off guard, that could work out really nicely. So this is a quick Roach Warren into Mutaling Bane. Now, one of the downsides with a Muta opener is that the upgrades for Terran, at least the downside for ZERG, main advantage of course for Terran, is that those upgrades for Terran are going to be much quicker. Normally ZERG is already quite late with upgrades in general. With this style, he probably won't be starting up the Evo chambers until after his first batch of Mutalisks. I would imagine he probably also will prioritize the Baneling speed upgrade. These units have to be very careful though. Ah, yeah, he's going very deep. Okay, fools around. Beautiful play. Lovely stuff. Clem actually making some uncharacteristic errors though, because he was like, oh, there's a free base. Oh, the units are out of... No, they weren't out of position. They were wrapping around. They were setting up surrounds left, right, and center. Nice supply advantage right now for Wayne. Couple drones over here having a little bit of a field day apparently. Not exactly sure what they're doing. Maybe this bio army though can equalize things a little bit. This is unscouted. Yep, this may very well work out lovely. Can he get it? Oh yeah. Oh, no cancel either. Okay. That's a rough one. That's a really painful moment right there for Wayne. Yeah, no, you're not going to be able to jump that. Zerglings are going to go around, however. With reinforcing Marines have arrived as well. Is there enough? That one siege tank, can it deal enough damage? Corrosive Biles are added into the mix. Oh, they get a medevac and a tank. Not bad at all, but ultimately there's just too much bio here. Okay, I think Wayne jumped a little bit too aggressively there because he ended up losing his fourth hatch. So he wanted to be droning at that point, right? He wanted to be making workers for that fourth, but since, well, there was no fourth, he figured I'm gonna make units and I'm just gonna be very aggressive. And we're not quite, done with that mindset just yet. It's just that Clem is very strong defensively. At this point, he's got all of the units that he needs to defend. Lovely missile turret position over there. 2 SCVs so far. I guess we can make that 4, maybe 5. Maybe even more. Nah, it's gonna be 5. A little bit of miscontrol right there on the Mutalisks. But look at these upgrades, right? So this is a mistake. Okay, there we go. When you can only afford one, always the attack upgrade for the Marines. Luckily here for Clem, he did notice it in time. Started up to +2 infantry attacks as well. Anyways, look at the difference though in these upgrade timings, right? So Terran is basically a full set of upgrades ahead. Ooh, getting the siege tank is nice, but not if it comes at the cost of 3 mutas, 4 mutas. Woo! Alright. Clem sniping the units. Now suddenly, these marine attacks become very scary. Clem has 2 options. Either he goes right now, or he waits until he's maxed out. Or he could even wait until 2-2 is done, I suppose, but that would be very late. The problem is he doesn't want to give his opponent that much time. Baneling's off creep. Very feisty attack right here through a choke point across a bridge. I don't like it at all, nah. That's one of those moments, right? So those attacks only ever work for ZERG whenever Terran's not paying attention. But guys like Clem are fast. Rarely do we see Terrans with more APM than ZERG because of the way that the larva mechanic work. Usually ZERGs have some inflated APM. Whenever you rely on your opponent not looking at their army and you're just hoping to get a lucky Baneling roll in, that's when you know things are getting desperate. GG. Alrighty, and that means that our final game for today, it takes place on the map Golden Aura. So far, good back and forth. That previous game though, when you think about it, it was basically decided all the way back to when Clem killed his opponent's 4th hedge. Right? That's when Wayne was like, oh no. That could have been prevented though by just being more on point with, well, unit positioning and maybe a little bit of creep spread in that direction too. So you actually see the Medivacs coming in before they unload their units, rather than when they're already shooting with Stimpec with 16 Marines all at the same time on a hatchery. That's, yeah, not quite ideal. Okay, so this time around it looks like Clem is going to be going for the Clem standard. If that is the case, we should be seeing some cloaked Banshees as well. Some players like to go for a Viking, but usually what Clem does is double cloak Banshee. Oh no, it's a second barracks. Okay, he really is mixing it up. This is technically a little risky though. The reason why it surprises me a bit, same for that Liberator proxy in the previous game, is that it just loses to a straight Roach all-in. And I know it's not a very popular build on the ladder, but I win a lot of games, personally, by going for a Roach push whenever Terran makes a mistake. Like, if this Reaper dies, if Clem was playing against me, I would 100% be canceling anything I was going for and just go straight into a Roach all-in. Because Terran at that point can't scout it anymore, and if they don't have Banshees ready to go, they just lose. This Stimpec upgrade is going to be finished, yeah, after a Roach attack would hit, so I think Clem would be in a lot of trouble. But none of that here is the case. Usually though, Terran build orders and StarCraft strategies in general are almost cyclical, so right now we see Terrans playing more and more greedy in the early game, right? So this is essentially Clem going for like 5 units, 3 command centers, and no Banshees whatsoever. So he has very little against some sort of early game ZERG aggression. However, because most of the time Terran players do have units against such builds, ZERG players oftentimes avoid going for a Roach all-in the first place. And right now we're kind of at the moment in the ZERG build order cyclist where, or the cycle I guess, where they're not really going for any sort of Roach-based attacks anymore because it didn't work for the longest time, but Terrans are getting greedier and greedier, that I would not be surprised at all if we are gonna be seeing like 3.5-minute Roach Warren, triple gas, massive Roach Ravager Ling floods across the map. Until Terran players, honestly, yeah, once again start going for Banshee starts, and then we will see that build fade out of existence for about a year again. This has happened many times before already in StarCraft history, but I do think it's worth noting right here that, yeah, Clem is playing a little dangerous. So right now is when a Roach attack would hit. What do we have? Like, there could be about 8 Roaches, 3 Ravagers, and a bunch of Zorklings ready to go right now, and there would be very little for Terran to do against it, and or to do anything against it rather, and he hasn't scouted it, right? So it would be risky, yeah. It would be risky for sure. Anyways, not happening in this game. Instead, we've just got ourselves a very macro-oriented style for Wayne. So I actually expected Wayne to play a little bit more cheesy in this series than he has been. Like, maybe game number 1 can be categorized as cheesy, but I think he just saw an opportunity and he took it, which is always something I think we should be, we should be looking for in StarCraft 2. Game number 2, he went for Roaches into Mutaling Bane. Now we're going double upgrades into, well, I would imagine Ling Bane speed? We'll have to see if it's going to be Hydras or Mutas or even Ultras or something along those lines added into the mix as well. Here's that fight for the 4th base again. Now notice the difference here. Now we have creep, we have units in the right position to defend against all of this. So I don't think Clem should be able to get the base. That being said, he's still going to try. Yeah, this is what Wayne should have done in the previous game. He's doing a big Zergling run by. Okay, gets Lynx into the natural, kills the Marines, kills the siege tank. Hellions were waiting, however, at home. Getting the tank is nice, though. That slows down any sort of follow-up attacks. We're gonna go try and snipe the Medivacs. Not going to happen, though. Good control right there by Mr. Clement. Alrighty, second factory coming up. Hello, Mr. Mule. Uncharacteristic errors here by Mr. Clem. There we go. That's a painful one. I do quite like this particular build though for Wayne. It can be a bit risky if Terran has got a really crisp timing attack on the line because your baneling speed is quite late. Turns out though in this particular game, Wayne did not need a very quick baneling speed, even though he also didn't really know what he was playing against exactly. Probably assuming it was going to be the Hellion into Banshee style as well. Turns out it's a double Rex, but anyways, he should be alright. Now with baneling speed done, it means that his early game gamble of going into double upgrades first has worked out really nicely. For a little bit though, until 2-2 is finished for the Zerg, yeah, the upgrades are going to be mostly even. As Clem right now is finishing up 1-1, as you can see on the right side of the screen. Good targeting, but ultimately, yeah, still a few of the Banes do connect. Beautiful dancing here though by Clem. You can see this is starting to hinder Wayne's macro a little bit. He's got some more money in the bank than he should have. Clem in the meantime starting up the 2-2 research, or at least the +2 infantry weapons. We should really see that second upgrade started up here as well momentarily. Wayne really needs to get his money down. Yeah, he's got a macro hedge, but the queens have been pushed to the front for such a long time that this dance over at the 4th base is costing Wayne quite a few queen injects. So it looks to me like he's got one control group for queens and that's it. Not remaking any queens inside of the main base or the natural, and this is starting to be painful. This is exactly the type of opportunity though that Clem is looking for. This is why he's fighting. Despite the position that 4th base was in and the fact that his opponent was likely going to be able to defend it, he's being aggressive here just because the odds of the opponent making mistakes, they go up. Right? If you're being in their face and you feel like you can outplay them macro-wise. Some small errors here and there, but ultimately, good situation here for Clem. Look at the amount of money here in the bank for Wayne. So he's finished 2-2. Wayne, that is. His hive, however, is late, so I assumed he was going to be going for a 2-2 all-in, but that's not the case here, because he doesn't have enough, well, of his minerals spent. If he had all of his resources spent right now, which he doesn't have the larva for, I would really love to see him go for an all-in right now. 1,200 minerals or so in the bank here. Marine push is going to continue over here. Looks like it may very well be able to kill that base. In the meantime, though, big Zergling Baneling counterattack. Imagine if Wayne had all of his money spent right now. He's coming up on 2,000 resources in the bank. Oh, he's going to be able to overwhelm this very nicely. Looks like no targeting right there by Clem on that hatchery, so he's actually not going to be able to kill the base. It's because he's busy microing at home. These few Widow Mines apparently are just deterring the entire Zerg army from going into that base altogether, but that's 30 SCVs down the drain. Seriously, if Wayne had just made extra queens and did a couple rounds of inject, he would have been in a phenomenal spot, and I think Clem would have been dead. That is not what I expected from this match at all. Now Clem gets a second chance in this game. His upgrades are evening up. That's what we want to see. Overlord speed coming up. 3-3 research coming up for Wayne. Oh. Big Widowmine connections. Lovely splits, all things considered though. Still too much money in the bank. A literal minefield out here. Yeah, that's the downside of Ling Bane, right? So Ling Bane, very cheap in minerals and gas, but very expensive when you think about it, in the larva. And larva really are a third resource that Zerg needs to manage, and that's where it's gone wrong in this game so far for Wayne. Ultimately, right now he's got his money spent. But I think the window during which he could have won this game has closed. He's trying his best still. And I think that's obviously the right move to make, but Clem has stabilized, and that was the most important part in this match. This is still a doable situation though for Wayne. He's still ahead when it comes to upgrades. He's going for ultras. This is not a game where Clem has already made the transition towards ghosts or anything along those lines. As a matter of fact, he doesn't even have he doesn't even have that many commensators yet. I mean, he does have the 4th over here at the bottom. I thought he actually didn't have a 5th, but that one is currently building. +3 has started up. This should really be the moment where we're going into ghosts. The thing is, up to this point, Clem has only seen Ling Bane, and when you've only ever seen Ling Bane, do you really want to be transitioning towards ghosts? Well, the big boy ultras are gonna be out here very soon. Medevac drops continue. Can we snipe down that medevac? Yep. Looks like one of the queens may very well pay for this with her life. Although, no, apparently the Marines decide to turn around. They're trying to see if maybe they can catch some drones. Never mind. Alright, Liberators are coming up here instead. This is something that Terrans have been doing as of late. Rather than going straight into the ghosts, they've been mixing in Liberators first. Okay, good splits here though against the mines. It's just that ZERG doesn't have the economy here. So, the one thing that Wayne has is upgrades, right? So once these upgrades are done, he's gonna hit a really nice power spike. Problem is, how many units does he have when he hits the power spike? Because he's hitting it in about 10 seconds. Yeah, as soon as these upgrades here on the right side of your screen are done. Clem is currently walking Ultralist around the map. He's got him on a little lead. He's ready to bring them around. Apparently Clem is feeling confident enough to take even the bottom base here while this is all happening. He must realize that he is not in the best of positions here as far as his unit composition goes, but he is microing really nicely against these ultras. No answer against the medevacs either. I would love to see maybe like a Viper or two. Can the Planetary get the Knight? Well, it can get the Knight. But the Zorklings right now, look at them. Ay, 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 ay. Like shooting fish in a barrel here for Clem. He did lose a bunch of SCVs, sure. But look at the supply count at this point. Those were some of the most cost-efficient trades you can ever have as a Terran. Look at that. The amount of resources lost right now on the ZERG side compared to that with the Terran. That explains the 60 supply advantage right now that Clem indeed has. And it's gonna be the Frenchman who obtains the victory in today's Best of 3 series. Hey, if you enjoyed watching this video and you made it all the way until the end, please take a second to hit the like button down below. Maybe we can still grow StarCraft 2 going into 2024, you know?